dans la porte de ma maison, moi tout ça doit tout faire. Tout battant pour me soigner, tout battant pour m'amener. À vous aller, malira, doit tout faire. Et qui connaît pas bien fait malheur, la balle dans malheur ton ménage. Mais j'ai plus besoin pour me soigner, plus besoin pour ma mère ou moi, ouais, moi le valet. Mais tu m'as quitté dans la porte de ma maison, moi tout ça doit me faire. Oui, plus besoin pour me soigner, plus besoin pour ma mère, malheureuse ou malvalée.
So what do you remember about your mom?
Oh, she's a nice lady. Because she sent me to school.
What else did she do? What do you remember about her?
What did she do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They say she used to, when she would get mad, Uncle Richard said that when she would get mad, she would go and hit her heel on the ground till it would bleed. That's what Uncle Richard told us.
But what I remember about my mother was, she lived every Saturday, just about every Saturday, we'd have a dry shrimp gumbo. And she'd make some homemade light bread, and that was some good eating. Everything members wants to eat. And when they'd eat lunch on Sundays, they'd eat all on the back porch. And I'd run around the back porch and just look at them eat. I wanted to get there and eat so bad.
Well, who was eating, Daddy? The adults?
Huh?
Who was eating?
Oh, they had all my aunts and uncles. And her, she was at the table with them and eating.
So the adults ate first and the kids ate last?
Yeah, if they had something left.
Oh.
Oh, they always had something left.
Can you tell me some of your earliest memories of your mom and daddy?
Huh?
Actually, what I really remember real early is every morning when I was young, my daddy would wake up and had a beautiful starch iron shirt to go to work. And mother would do his pants also every morning.
She'd do that every morning?
Every morning she'd press those pants with an iron you heat on the stove.
Mommy,
See, we weren't raised by any modern convenience. We were raised without modern convenience. And mother had to wash clothes. And also during the war, she and other ladies taking in washing from the soldiers that were camped in the woods by the country club.
They were by the country club? I've heard about that.
They were bivouacking by the country club, and they would take in those times. Army clothes was cotton, and you had to starch and iron, and they do all this on a wood stove.
That was that prisoner of war camp?
No, sir. This was the U.S. Army.
I don't know that much about my mother because I was 8 years old when she passed away. But from all I've heard, that all the good things I've heard about her, I'm just sorry I didn't get a chance to know more about her.
But what do you remember about her when you were growing up?
I don't know. That's what I say. I don't know.
So she had to be a nice, even-tempered person, or?
Yeah. She wouldn't get mad.
Mm-hmm. Did she know how to cook?
Yeah, she cooked good. I like the way she cooked. She was a good cook.
What she cook? She seemed like she liked to take care of people.
Mm-hmm. She did. She liked to take care of her children. And if anybody else was sick.
And she was a good person. She would, people sick, she'd go stay with them. And I was very selfish. I remember one time I was sick, and she left me with Mr. Eddie Stevens. Stayed all one evening, all night that night, until late that next evening. And I was mad. I wasn't sick as I act like I was. But I wanted her there with me.
You just wanted her attention, huh?
Yeah.
But didn't she deliver babies too?
Huh?
Didn't she deliver babies too?
Oh yeah, she delivered babies.
Who you know she delivered?
She delivered Bubble, Edward Boy, Bubble.
Uh-huh.
But I remember when she delivered him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What time was it?
With what?
What time was it?
It was on a Sunday, and it was kind of the middle of her day.
Did you know she was a midwife?
Yeah, I remember you told me that.
Yeah, she could deliver babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember anybody she delivered?
Yeah, Bubba Duhorn.
It's the same thing Daddy remember too.
He did. And Mary's daughter, I think, Shirley.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I remember.
And I tell you something else about my mom. My mom was a midwife.
Get out of
A lot of
here.
people don't know that. Yeah, she would help deliver babies. She'd also stay up at night with kids that were sick.
Mm-hmm.
She would do that. And
They
also,
come and get her, Daddy?
oh yes, oh yeah. It's a funny thing, Charmaine. You know, you didn't have any phones, but how word could get around on so and so was sick, or something happened to so and so, and you know, you'd know it. You know, I don't know if it would. People would do it on horseback. You know, we did a lot of traveling on horseback in those days. And something else I remember about my mom was they had a man that lost his wife. His wife died, and he didn't want his wife to be embalmed. And my mother was, she was called on to help do that.
Help embalm?
Well,
Or prepare the body?
prepare the body for the coffin.
What? How old were you, Daddy, when you remember this?
I imagine I was 8 or 10 years old. Mother helped bathe the body, and I think what they'll do, then they put the body in the coffin, and they put ice around different places and jars.
Mm-hmm.
And
The ice would be in the mason jars?
yeah, it would be in different jars, what you couldn't see.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
And then she was buried the next day.
Now, they took her to town to bury her there?
I think so, as far as I know, on Broad Street.
Okay, because I was going to say...
That's basically where most of the blacks were being buried, would be on Broad Street.
Oh, that little corner cemetery.
The old cemetery.
Yeah, because they have a
God.
closed sign on it now.
Right, right.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
But she never learned me. I wish I'd have learned how to cook.
Well, Daddy, how much did things cost back then?
You know the only thing I could cook then? See, my mother canned a lot of jars of preserve. She canned pears, and she put them under the bed, canned tomatoes and put under the bed, and pint in quart size. I'd get me a pint of tomato canned from under the bed. I'd get some hog bacon. I'd fry it. And put that jar of tomato in there. Oh Lord, and a little bit of rice. I put the dog outside. The backbone from the butcher. Oh Lord, that was the best stuff. And make a jambalaya. She could make the best jambalaya, that little short rib.
Yeah.
That's why I don't care too much for jambalaya now, because I couldn't find nobody to cook like she could.
Not like Mama, huh?
Not like Mama.
Did she like to sew and stuff?
Yeah, she could sew. Yeah, she liked to sew. She could sew. She used to make all our night pajamas to go to bed at night.
Oh, okay.
We all have pajamas to go to bed at night during the wintertime.
Mother would buy this feed for her chickens, and it was beautiful material, and she'd make her shirts from the sacks of that feed.
What color was it?
Or it would be like a flower. They'd have all kinds of summer. It would be blue and white, all kind of. And believe it or not, this fertilizer what my grandfather would buy was in gauze. This gauze stuff, you know, material. When you pay so much money, no? Back in those days, they'd almost throw that away. That gauze material, you know, that kind of crinkle material.
Right.
You can buy. Oh, yeah. Isn't that something?
Okay, she would make on paper. She'd make on patterns with a newspaper. She'd have to cut it out on the newspaper. She'd make on patterns with a newspaper, and then she cut it out on the material.
She sounded pretty talented if she could do that.
Yeah, she sure could.
So she could cook and she could sew and she took care of people, delivered babies.
Yeah.
She was an awesome woman.
Yeah, she was.
How did y'all who took care of y'all when y'all was at home? Cause didn't your daddy go to the army or something?
Well, my mother.
Oh, so Papa and your mama took care of y'all.
And then she took sick while Daddy was in the army. And when he came back, I believe she died the first year he was back. And then we was like on our own beginner.
Oh, okay.
But I was the big daddy then.
You took care of everybody, huh?
Yeah.
So you was the daddy and mama was the mama.
I guess so.
Well, mother, what I could understand, I could say she was having a problem with a breath, a bus, and they operated on her, and I knew it was serious, even though I was young, because my daddy was in the Navy, and then Daddy, he got a hardship discharge. I guess it was a hardship. I knew it. And then Leonette was in school at Sacred Heart. She had to come out of school. And Mother started losing weight. And lo and behold, I had some good uncles and aunties, beautiful people. No matter what they would, when you after the 7th grade, you could stay at their house and go on to high school if you wanted, up a higher grade. And Uncle Ernest would take my mother all the way to Beaumont because they didn't have radiation in Lake Charles back in those times.
And tell anybody who's Uncle Ernest, just in case they don't know.
Uncle Ernest is the baby of my mother's generation. He's the baby boy. Everybody would just help, but then I noticed my mom had 3 daughters. She couldn't only stand up no more, and she would be in pain. And no matter what, we would go in there every morning and ask her how she feel.
She was bedridden there?
Oh yes, on the last, oh yes. And this lady, through the kindness of her heart, that lived on the blacktop, which is Country Club, she would come over and give my mom pain shot, you know. And I didn't know that much about it, but I know it was a shot. And one day I saw the needle, and I know it was a large needle. And then Mom got so, back in those days, when somebody was sick, everybody would come around. The whole neighborhood would come. Whole neighborhood.
They was coming to pray there?
They would come in to see if there's something they could do. And some of them would be praying too. Some of them were doing different things. Find out if they could do anything they could do. Wash the dishes, cook or anything. And it was a Sunday night, and we were all eating. And Mabel Duhon, which is my mother's niece, she lived in Galveston now. She came and told us to hurry up because Mother was dying. And when we got in the room, you know, she was dying. And it was a Sunday. and it was, you know, it was real sad, you know.
How old were you then?
I must have been 12 or 13. Around there.
Was she able to talk to y'all before she passed there?
On the last, she couldn't, you know. You know, she couldn't. She just, you know, it's such a beautiful lady, and you know, just watch her, you know, it was God will, you know, God will. It just.
You remember one of the last things she said to you?
No.
Last conversation y'all had?
The only thing I always remember when we'd ask her, and she'd ask us to be good.
Well, Daddy, tell me about Papa Lee. Tell me about your dad.
Daddy, like I say, he was a man who always worked, but Daddy never did any farming. All he did was bartender. And he'd go to work in the morning about 9, between 8:30 and 9, and he wouldn't get off until the country club was closed, which sometime 10 o'clock at night. So he, you know, that's all he did, you know. And he had one day off, it used to be on a Monday.
Do you know how he and your mom met?
Well, what I can understand, you know, kids, you know, playing, and in a, you know, neighborhood, you know, and Daddy just, they fell in love with one another, they married, and what he did, he just stayed with his father-in-law.
Well, what do you remember about your dad?
Oh, Daddy? Oh. Joe, don't do that.
Like I said, Daddy, his day off, he wanted fish. Y'all had to saddle up a horse and go down to Mr. Steve and get him some fish. And then he'd get on another horse and go to the store and get him a fifth of liquor.
What I remember most about my dad, well, I realized, I thought my mom had the coolness of people sick and hurt. You know, a lot happened, because my grandfather almost cut his foot off one time with an axe.
That was Papa that did that?
Yes, and Mother helped back to the, you know, health, you know. But at school, we had a wood stove. And a guy threw me down wrestling, and Henry Ryan was cutting wood, and I guess he wanted me to move my finger, and then he cut my finger off.
Why you cut? You didn't want to move it?
Well, it was an accident. You know, he didn't really mean to do it. It was accident. So I grabbed my finger, it was just holding like on a string, and I took off and I ran all the way home. And Mother was wondering what I was doing back at that time, I guess, in school, and I was hollering. And when she came outside and saw what had happened to me, she took off running right around the house. And my daddy happened to be home. Usually he's not home around that time. He usually be uptown somewhere. And he jumped up and ran out, wanted to know what all the hollering was. And he and my grandfather grabbed me and put me in the car. And they brought me uptown. They didn't bring me to the hospital. I went on Ryan Street upstairs. And I sit in the waiting room with about 4 people in there. And I had to wait my turn.
Ryan Street? What was on Ryan Street?
The doctor's office. They had doctor's office all down Ryan Street.
Oh.
I imagine this doctor's office was in the vicinity somewhere between Broad Street and the other street, the next street over.
This doctor saw whites and blacks there?
Yes, he had a white waiting room and a black waiting room. So what had happened, my grandfather asked this lady, could I go in her place? And she said, well, yes, you may.
With your finger bleeding, huh?
Oh, he would work every day and come back home at night. And
Where'd he work?
he worked at Lake Charles Country Club.
What did he do there?
First he was out on the greens. Then they put him inside. He was a bartender. And then he got back out on the greens. He's back out on the course, greens course, you know. And then he would have one day. He would have one day. He would work on Sundays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and he would have one day in the week off on Wednesdays, I think. He had one day off Wednesdays.
My dad always did work. My dad was a bartender.
And my dad remarried and left, so I don't remember too much about my dad at that particular time. I learned more about my dad after I left and he came back on vacation, and then I got a chance to go out with him and hang out with him, and I got a chance to really learn more about my dad.
Well, I got blessed to see Papa Lee until he passed away. Tell me how that was difficult to see your dad.
Well, now Daddy, that part, he, one day my brother came by here and said Daddy had fell. And what it is, he had a stroke. But before that happened, I think Daddy must have had a fall or something, because he had a cracked skull. That affected his speech. So after he had the stroke, it was real hard on him, because and I would go over and shave him. I know sometimes I wasn't able to go every week, but I would go over and shave and be with him, and then he had another stroke, and I hated to see him like that. He couldn't talk or anything, and we had to put him in a nursing home for a while. And
I've heard you was one of the few could understand him.
Yeah, and I think one time I was with him, looked like he was trying to tell me something, and he laughed. He gave me a smile, But
he's probably
we all the brothers, we all pitched in, we did what we could, when he was down, up to the last,
Think you'd have been proud of your daddy?
I think he would have.
The matriarch of this family is my grandfather,
Okay.
Frank Granger.
Is that, what do they call him?
Papo.
Okay.
Ask my Papo. But I owe a lot when I was growing up to my sister, Mignonette, and my older brother, Leroy, which we call Doobie. They were like a mother and father to me.
Oh, okay.
And I can't forget about Uncle Charlie. He taught me how to ride horses and break horses. So I was real thankful for that he taught me these things, and he was very inspirational in my upbringing.
Uncle Charlie was?
My uncle.
Okay.
That was Papa's son, my grandfather's son.
Oh, okay.
And my mother's brother.
Okay.
Well, you knew Uncle Charlie.
Oh yeah. Tell everybody who Uncle Charlie was, Daddy.
Uncle Charlie was Papa's oldest child. He was the oldest boy, and he would be what you call a real Westerner, because he would tame horses for money. That was his. And a lot of times when he'd ride the horse and get the horse tamed down so much, then he'd let us have him to finish riding, and we had to stake the horse out. We had to walk or feed it and water it. Then when the people would pick the horses up and pay him, he'd give us a few dollars.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, and we thought that was so good, We had a little money. We had a little money that way.
Yeah, that was a blessing to know Uncle Charlie, definitely.
One thing that I can remember about my grandfather, we slept together until I left, going to California, 19 years. And one thing he asked me, I'd come back on vacation, and he said, "Tot, would you sleep with me tonight? Let's sleep together like old times." I said, "But Papa, I have a wife now. I can't sleep with my wife." And that still worries me to this day. I still think about why didn't I sleep with my grandfather. Because he wasn't only my grandfather, he was like a friend. We did a lot of things together, go to the grocery store in a wagon together. And it's just hard for me to realize, why didn't I do that? And, well, and that's probably all I have to say right now.
Well, the most beautiful thing too about all what I remember a lot was Father's Day. Father's Day was Brandon Day. And my grandfather and all the family, my daddy had cattle, Papa had cattle, all the brothers, all his children had cattle, and they were always different pastures out in the woods. In fact, the last that I remember was right where Greenwood Plantation is, where that golf course is. We had our cows back in that area.
Right over there.
And we had to go get them on a Saturday afternoon, and we had to push them cows all the way to my grandfather's house. You know, and every street you get to, every road you get to, you had to have a rod ahead to block the cows off. But we was always fortunate because they had what they call a lead cow. And she would be in the lead and she'd know right straight where to go. And then that Sunday morning, we'd brand. And everybody knew their cattle, and you had different brands for each person. Mm-hmm. My dad's brand was L41.
L41. Mm-hmm. Well, what did that stand for?
That was his brand. He registered with the state.
L41.
And my grandfather's brand was OH.
And you remember all those names,
Yeah.
all them numbers.
And I think Uncle Richard's brand was OZ. I don't remember what Uncle Charlie one was.
I've always heard that Papa was very generous.
Oh yes, I remember the times when he would butcher a hog. I would take off from school because my job was to deliver meat to different people in the neighborhood. I had a horse called Bozo, and I'd get on Bozo and they'd put different packs of meat, and he'd tell me, you know, that his daughters would tell me where to deliver this meat to, and he was such a generous person. He'd always look out for everybody in the neighborhood, and I delivered meat to a lot of people in the neighborhood. And that was like a holiday for me when we butchered, because I'd take off from school. So he was a very generous person.
They were telling me something about a Christmas tree one time.
Oh, we'd go in the woods and get our Christmas tree. Oh yeah. Yeah, hook up a whole big wagon and go down the woods and get a Christmas tree. Come back and put it up. Papa was always for us to do anything we really wanted to do. He was always for it.
So he let y'all do it, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So he was a nice grandfather, huh?
Oh, that's the best in the world. They don't make a man good like him no more.
Well, Uncle Charlie was close.
Yeah, but he didn't touch him. Shit, Charlie was a good man, but he didn't touch him. Yeah.
And my grandfather would kill 3 hogs a year. And the hogs had to be what they call on the floor. And he would feed them for a long time.
What do you mean on the floor, Daddy?
Well, you build a pen, and the hogs that he's gonna slaughter, they're not on the ground, they're on the wood.
Oh.
And you get good fresh water. He gives them plenty of corn, rice bran, and that polish. And back in those days, Charmaine, that pork meat would taste sweet. It was so good.
Well, I have quite a few fond memories of my grandfather. Some things I remember, in the morning, he'd go out, cut wood early in the morning, and my sister would make the coffee, and I would go take it to him. And I remember this one morning, I was bringing him his coffee and his favorite little cup. And a big rooster jumped on me and broke the cup. Oh. I was so hurt, I cried and cried because that rooster broke my grandfather's favorite cup. And do you know my grandfather killed that rooster later? Oh, he was a wild rooster.
We had a good grandfather. Too.
And give me that famous name. I've been hearing about him all my life.
Granger. But he was better known to us as Papo.
Papo, the Papo.
And other times I remember when my brothers had gone off to the service and my sister had gone to Texas, and it was just the 3 of us, BeLee, my grandfather and I. My grandfather and I, we worked in the field, and I just enjoyed working with my grandfather. We'd get the horses ready for plow, and then at 12 o'clock we'd come in for lunch. In fact, the horses would eat better than us because they would eat the bran. Papa would keep the bran for them, and we'd eat clabber and watermelon for lunch. And at night, I would do the cooking. I would cook ground beef, and I was a good baker because my sister taught me how to bake the 1, 2, 3 cake and lemon pie. So we'd have that sometimes, and ground beef with a tomato gravy. That was my grandfather's favorite. So we had good times together, really good times together, and I just cherish those times that we did have, you know. And I'm just sorry that I left early going to California. I was 19 and left my grandfather. Yes, I was there for the funeral. In fact, I was a pallbearer.
Okay.
And I remember after coming out of the church, we all got in the car, and I could not stop crying because I kept thinking about the times he wanted me to sleep with him and I didn't. And I cried until we got to the graveyard. And one of my cousins, bro said, "You got to stop that crying now. You're not getting out of this car crying like that." So he finally made me shut up crying. But I just could not stop crying because I could not forget about the times that he wanted me. Was his wish us to sleep together, and I didn't do it because we slept together up until I was 19 years old, and I didn't do it. So that was a very trying time for me.
Okay, Mom, we're sitting in the old homestead house. There should be lots of memories in this house, huh?
Yeah.
What do you want to start with? What do you remember first?
Okay, every Christmas, Papa, my grandfather, and my mama, they would buy some Morgan David wine, and she would put some in a pitcher and sweeten it, cut it with water and sweeten it, and we'd each have a glass of wine when I was cooking the dinner. I remember that.
Yes, they had it was a picket fence enclosed the house. The house basically was a large, say, 5-room house, and it had one gate facing, the house is facing the east. But I understand at one time, before the real bad storm in 1918, the house was facing the north.
Get out of here.
So the storm blew the house off the block. Instead of putting it that way, they changed the direction. They put the house facing the east.
Somebody you think wanted to see that sunrise, huh?
Man, I don't know. So they had a gate, and they had a gate at the east. They had a gate on the north, and they had a gate on the west. And also they had one in the south too, kind of on the end.
Wow.
That was fast, because my mama, that's where the clothesline was.
Right.
On the south side of the house.
Right. So I'm walking through the gate. What do I see in the yard?
Okay, you're gonna walk up about on 3 or 4 steps, which was at one time was a wooden step, and it had a wood porch. And you'd walk in the front door, and they had this X glass, mahogany door, and you walk in the front room. Basically, you know, front room was back in those days used for different things, and they had a wood heater against the wall in the dining room.
Where was the heater? On your left or your right when you came in?
When you walk in the house, you turn and you're gonna be facing the west. You walk into the heater on the left, because on the right would be when you're walking in the kitchen.
Okay.
And on the other side, the wall in the kitchen, that was the wood stove was. That's where all the cooking was. And it was just an old common 1x4 pine flooring.
Well, Daddy, how did y'all all stay in that house? Y'all had quite a few of y'all. How y'all stayed in there? Where'd y'all sleep?
All in the bed. Yeah, we slept. I slept in the bed with, not in the same room with Tata and Papa. I had a little bed on the end. The rest of them slept in the other room. And they had a sofa that would open up to the bed.
But that was normal back then, huh?
Oh yeah. Shit, the Jews had way more than that in one room.
The doctor told me when I was a baby, I had a real bad fall, and my spine grew crooked. You know, I got scoliosis. And then I was told later that my mother dropped me on the stove when I was just a baby, and I fell from the stove on the floor.
St. Martin's Chapel, with deep gratitude and warm affection, presents this award to Leroy B. Hollier for long and devoted service to our church community, 1992. Congratulations and God bless you.
Try to say, I think this probably started a long time ago when I was a kid. Way back when my mother used to have church back at the house. We'd be playing, I'd be working, and on Saturday afternoon, we'd have mass, wouldn't have mass every Sunday, whatever, sacred heart at the priest would come out, call me in, I'd start hauling blocks of wood and boards and things to make seats in the dining room and front room for Mass to Sunday. And then grandfather gave us a piece of property for a chapel. And it just grew on for that, and we had to keep it policed up and do things for it, and I guess it just started from that on. And I thank everybody.
Long ways, I remember as a young boy, we'd have mass out at the house, at my grandfather's house where I was raised. And we had to hustle chairs and things from the neighborhood. And we do this in a wagon, or either what you call a slide. A slide is a thing that's made low to the ground, and it have a board that's made on an angle, and it's just sort of like a sled, what you say a large sled. And we use that sometime too.
How were your jobs determined? I mean, who decided who was going to help get the chairs?
Oh, we were always kid and play, but we got along pretty well doing the work. And
I mean, did your mom say, James, you got to go get this?
No, when that day would come, we knew we had to do it, and we'd do it, and we'd have everything ready for Sunday.
And this was every Saturday then?
No, oh no, maybe we'd have mass maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
And I know
we didn't have mass out there every week.
And that's because it was hard to get a priest, huh?
Yeah, that's right, I guess.
Where did the priest come from? That
Sacred Heart.
Sacred Heart.
Okay.
You would come over with the wagons, and then the wagon then put a chair down, and 2 men to stand each side the chair, and then hold a lady by the hand. She'd step off the wagon onto the chair and on the ground. Well, that was pretty the way they do that.
Where did they?
If my mother rake up some seats, we had to horse some boards. She'd get a block of wood, make some seats. Or she in that front room would seat a bunch of people. One papa would sit in the kitchen for mass.
Well, who would come do the mass?
A priest, Martin did tell me about a priest, what was his name?
James Sullivan.
Say Reverend James Sullivan.
Well, then who built the church?
This, I can't think of his name in town, 2 men around Sacred Heart.
Okay, so he gave the land and they built the church.
Yeah, and Raymond Vincent gave the money to buy the wood to build the church. You understand?
So everybody had something to do with it.
Claire was waiting for Raymond Vincent. And she said they wanted to build a church. She said, but they had no money. So she gave the money to buy the wood to build a church.
I'll be at work or something, someone say, where are you from? And the first thing I say, I'm from Praying Lake. People say, Praying Lake, where is that? I say, well, it's right next to Lake Charles, but I think I consider myself like from Prairie Lake, not Lake Charles. But growing up in Prairie Lake was a lot of fun, you know, with the family, and I guess you had an extended family. You know, all your uncles and aunts and everything. So they all helped raise all of us, I guess. But it was just fun growing up in Prairie Lake.
What about the horses and the cows and the cow shit and all that?
Well, you know, when you were growing up, you like, I learned to ride a horse. I don't know, I must have been 5 or 6 years old. But I don't remember how old I was when I first started riding a horse. Well, actually, this time of June, like in June, we would, when I was a kid, you know, real young, I don't remember, I guess, from 7 maybe to 10, 15, we would go round up all the cattle and bring them into like the property there, and in fact, it was always in June where you had this big branding thing. We would brand all these cattle, and then once we leave the branding, we would always go swimming to the lake, get on a horse and toot towards the lake. Like we would make the horses swim. So it was a lot of fun growing up. But I remember one time, Horace, Barbara, and myself, we was in this wagon, and the horses ran away with us. We all fell out of this wagon, like tumbling out. Actually, when I was older, I was raking some hay. We was baling some hay once, and so you was in this big rake. I mean, you know, the horse was pulling this rake, and you was raking this hay, and then you would pull the hay up to the baler, and then you would flip a little lever, and it just released the hay. And I was on this rake one time, and the horses spooked somehow, and they took off, and when they took off, the reins pulled out of my hand. I mean, they was running away, and I was on this rake thing, and I just decided I better get off here, so I flipped off, and they all sitting down. I mean, it was a lot of things that, you know, you had, and we used to go swimming in the lake. We used to go swimming in the canal. Like they had snakes in the canal. We didn't realize that. And when I was young, I think I taught myself how to swim when I was about 7. Like when I was about 10 or 12, I used to swim actually halfway across the lake. But I wouldn't do that now.
canot que la corde à tout temps, condamné pour la flamme de l'enfer.
J'ai parti dans la veillée, j'ai parti dans la veillée, j'ai parti dans la veillée, j'ai fait changer mon nom. J'ai parti dans la veillée, j'ai pouvais changer mon nom. décolleté. C'est meilleur monde que vivre dans le pays. Tu connais, c'est ça qui fait pour vivre. Moi j'ai travaillé dans ma vie. J'ai fait tout quelque chose, donc on vit Pelé. Oh oui, j'ai travaillé dans ma vie. Oh, dans ma vie. J'ai fait les mots, elle ramassait le coton. J'ai fait les mots, elle fouillait patate. J'ai fait les mots, elle coupait des cornes. Oh, j'ai tout quelque chose comme ça. They turn around to call me a corn breaker. I'm a king cutter. Oh yeah, I'm a king cutter. I'm a potato digger. Ain't no way, baby. Around. I'm a cotton picker, I'm a potato digger, I'm a king cutter. Oh yeah, yeah, John. Potato digger, but everybody got to know without a farmer, everything gonna go wrong. Everything gonna go wrong. Oh yeah, baby.
Daddy, I understand that this reunion was your idea.
Oh, well, I think it started right here at 506 Reed. I think it did, probably did. We had kind of talked about it before a few years back, but I was thinking because of our age, you know, we should try to let our generation know one another. Right. Let our cousins know one another. let the bloodline get together. And that way, when the bloodline get together, that blood gonna flow, and they're gonna just carry all over the world. It's gonna go all over the world. And it's gonna be from the Hollier and the Granger, that generation. Mother and daddy, I think it would be possible for them to see their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren today. They would just look up and give a great big smile and say, well, I know I'm at peace now. At last, I know I'm at peace. Because I think we have a beautiful family. My brothers, they want to go beyond. I said, no. Even though we're going to talk about Papa, you know, and that generation, but we want the generation of mother and daddy, especially to have a picture together. The main thing is we could get them all together and have a picture of that generation, of 4 boys and 1 girl, and their children, and their grandchildren, and their great-grandchildren, and their family, their husbands, their wives.
Kind of finding out where you come from, huh, Dad?
That's right. So this is why I wanted mother and daddy. I know Papa was a great man. I have some uncles who was great uncles. I have some aunties who was great aunties. But I'm thinking about who carried me for 9 months? Who carried me in that for 9 months? Who carried Doobie for 9 months? Who carried Billy for 9 months? Who carried Tata for 9 months? That was mother. And then our daddy made it possible.